Story time. My wife faked a family emergency out of state to spend a week with him. Tuesday morning started like any other, until my wife burst through the bedroom door with tears streaming down her face. Her sister had been in a terrible car accident, she claimed, and was in critical condition at a hospital 3 states away. The whole story came out in rushed, panicked sentences about how she needed to leave immediately to be with her family. I offered to come with her, to drive her there, to help in any way possible. She refused everything, insisting she needed to handle this alone with her family. Within 2 hours, she had packed a bag and was walking out the door for what she said would be a week-long stay. Something felt off about the entire situation, but I couldn't pinpoint what exactly was wrong. My wife had always been close with her sister, so the emotional reaction seemed genuine enough. But there were small details that didn't add up. She packed her nicest clothes instead of comfortable travel wear. Red flags show up when we least expect them, and the fact that she didn't want her husband to come, or at least say something to the effect of coming a day or two later, it's kind of suspicious. Her makeup bag went into the suitcase along with jewelry she never wore for family visits. When I asked for the hospital name so I could send flowers, she said she'd text me the details when she arrived. That text never came. I called her that evening to check how her sister was doing. The conversation was brief, and she sounded distracted, claiming she was too exhausted to talk much. Background noise suggested she was in a restaurant rather than a hospital waiting room. When I mentioned sending flowers again, she quickly changed the subject. By Thursday, my gut instinct was screaming that something was wrong with this situation. Well, I always say in this situation, pay attention. And most of the time, you will pick up the little things, but sometimes it's hard. I called her sister directly. The phone rang twice before a very much alive and healthy voice answered, clearly confused about why I was calling to check on her condition. She hadn't been in any accident. She hadn't even spoken to my wife in over a month. The sick feeling in my stomach told me exactly what was really happening. After hanging up with her sister, I sat in my kitchen for an hour, processing what I just learned. My wife of 9 years had fabricated an elaborate lie to spend a week somewhere else. The question wasn't whether she was cheating anymore. The question was, who was she with and how long this had been going on? I started thinking back over the past few months, looking for patterns I'd missed. She'd been working late more often, claiming her boss was demanding extra hours for a big project. Weekend errands that used to take an hour somehow stretched into entire afternoons. Her phone had become permanently glued to her hand, and she took that thing everywhere. I remembered the day 3 months ago when she came home from the grocery store unusually happy. She'd run into an old college friend, she said, and they'd caught up for a few minutes in the parking lot. At the time, I thought it was sweet how excited she seemed about reconnecting with someone from her past. Now, that conversation took on a completely different meaning. Her boss would probably assume she was dealing with a legitimate family crisis. I decided to call my wife's work number, asking to speak with her. The receptionist told me she was out for the week due to a family emergency, so she'd cover her tracks at work too. This wasn't some spur-of-the-moment decision. This was planned, calculated, and deliberate. Saturday morning, I made another discovery that filled in more pieces of the puzzle. Our joint savings account showed a withdrawal of $800 from the day before she left. She'd taken cash to avoid creating any traceable spending records. The level of premeditation was staggering. While looking through old bank statements, I noticed a pattern of smaller cash withdrawals over the past 2 months. $20 here, $50 there. She'd been building up to this week for a while. The rage hit me Sunday morning when the full scope of her deception became clear. I spent the day making a list of everything I knew and everything I needed to find out. Her car had GPS tracking through our insurance company's safe driving program. Monday morning, I logged into the account and pulled up her location history. She was at a resort 2 hours north of where she claimed to be. the same resort where she'd been making regular day trips over the past month. I screenshotted everything and saved it to a folder on my computer. Well, this is the best way. Gather all the evidence first before confrontation. Tuesday, I called a divorce attorney and scheduled a consultation for the following week. I wasn't sure if I wanted a divorce yet, but I wanted to know my options. The lawyer told me to start documenting everything and to avoid confronting her until I had a clear plan. I spent Wednesday researching the resort online. It was the kind of place people went for romantic getaways, not family emergencies. The photo gallery showed couples walking hand in hand along scenic trails and sharing intimate dinners. Thursday, I made a decision that would change everything. I was going to drive up there and see this situation with my own eyes. But first, I was going to make sure she couldn't just disappear if things went badly. Before I left, I took care of all the financial loose ends and opened up a new bank account. I scheduled automatic payments for all of my household bills, for which I was personally responsible. If she wanted to blow up our marriage, she wasn't going to destroy my financial stability in the process. Friday morning, I loaded my camera into the car and started driving north. I had no idea what I was going to find, but I knew I needed proof of whatever was happening. The 2-hour drive gave me time to think about what I'd say when I saw her. I arrived at the resort just after noon and immediately spotted her car in the parking lot. The license plate I'd been staring at for years was right there in front of me. I parked 3 rows away and walked toward the main building with my camera ready. Gathering objective evidence became my primary focus because emotional reactions wouldn't protect my interest in what was coming next. The lobby was busy with couples checking in and out, and I found a seat near the windows overlooking the pool area. After 30 minutes of waiting, I saw them. My wife was walking hand in hand with the man I recognized from her college photos, the same friend she claimed to bump into at the grocery store 3 months ago. I know a lot of people would say, confront her or maybe even the guy she is with, but losing your temper in these situations only makes matters worse. Just saying. They were both wearing matching resort bathrobes and looked completely comfortable together. I took several photos through the window, making sure to capture both their faces clearly. They spent the afternoon by the pool, acting like a couple who'd been together for years. The casual intimacy between them made it obvious this wasn't their first time here. Around 4 o'clock, they went back inside. I waited in the lobby and watched as they walked toward the elevators together. Once they disappeared into the elevator, I knew I had seen enough to confirm what was really happening. I didn't need to follow them or find out any more details. Instead, I drove home and spent the weekend preparing for her return. My approach focused on protecting my emotional and financial well-being rather than seeking immediate confrontation. Monday evening, she walked through our front door with her suitcase and the story about how difficult the week had been. Her sister was recovering well, she said, but it had been touch and go for a while. I let her talk for 10 minutes before I placed the printed photos on the kitchen table. The look on her face told me everything I needed to know. She was busted, and she knew it. She tried to explain, to justify it. I cut her off and told her to save it. We were done. From start to finish, the divorce was final in 8 months. I kept the house. She kept her guilt. Evidence and documentation had protected my interest throughout the legal process, just as my attorney had advised. Sometimes the best revenge is simply letting people face the consequences. I'm rebuilding my life now, surrounded by people who value honesty. The most important investment I made was in myself, protecting my dignity, mental health, and future opportunities. It's a much better foundation than I had before. Update. 1 year later, a lot of people have been asking for an update, so here's where things stand now. The divorce settlement held up exactly as negotiated. In addition to keeping the house, we split what savings we had. I kept some of the furniture and my new car, and she kept her car, and I was able to keep all of my other assets. My lawyer's advice about documenting everything proved invaluable during the proceedings. Her attempt to claim emotional distress and ask for alimony fell apart when we presented the resort photos. It's hard to argue you deserve spousal support when you're caught on camera vacationing with your affair partner. The most interesting development happened about 4 months after our divorce was final. One Saturday, I ran into one of my ex-wife's co-workers at Costco. Apparently, my ex-wife's boss found out about her fake family emergency. To this day, no one knows how her boss found out about her fake family emergency. She was terminated for falsifying the reason for her time off. Losing her job meant she had to move back in with her parents at 32 years old. The affair partner situation imploded on its own timeline. I never reached out to his family, but somehow certain things have a way of coming into the light. His wife found out through mutual friends who had seen them around town together. Their divorce was apparently much messier than ours. He had significant assets and a medical practice to protect. His wife fought for everything and got most of it. My ex-wife went from thinking she'd landed a doctor to watching him lose his financial stability in his own divorce. As for my personal life, I've been seeing someone new for the past 3 months. She's an assistant store manager for a retail chain. I met through a friend, and the difference in character is remarkable. Honest communication feels effortless when you're with someone who values integrity. I'm not rushing into anything serious, but it's nice to remember what healthy relationships feel like. The house feels like home again instead of a crime scene. I redecorated completely, removing all traces of my previous marriage. New furniture, new paint, new everything. It was therapeutic in a way I hadn't expected. My mental health has improved dramatically since removing toxic people from my life. I sleep better, work more productively, and actually enjoy my free time again. For anyone going through something similar, my biggest advice is to trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, investigate it properly. Don't let guilt or fear of confrontation keep you in a situation that's damaging your well-being. Document everything. Get legal advice early and prioritize protecting yourself financially and emotionally. The truth always comes out eventually, and when it does, you want to be in the strongest position possible. 1 year later, I can honestly say my life is better than it was during my marriage. That's not something I'd expected to be able to say, but here we are. Until next time.